How did acting all start for you? Like, where did it all begin? Like, what's the story behind it? Just briefly.
Yeah, sure. It all began in Richmond, Virginia, and the first thing I did, honestly, was read Dr. Seuss aloud to the class in the third or fourth grade. I read it. I read it so well. They asked the principal to come see me read it. She wasn't in, so the vice principal came. So obviously, I made an impact right away.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was my first audience. Eventually, I did like the Thanksgiving play and I was involved in the choir and things of that nature. And then I got back to acting and it was the All City Theatrical Company. It was an after school program and our teacher had studied, excuse me, at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York. And he came back to Richmond and taught these young kids like myself everything he knew.
Wow.
And at one point, I had an out of body experience while I was doing a monologue from A Raisin in the Sun. It was very dramatic. Tears came, and everybody was thoroughly impressed. And it never stopped. I was 14 years old.
Mm, mm. Do you think you needed the training? Because you said you left a good first impression. So, do you think you needed the studying, or do you think you could have jumped straight into it without
I
all
think
that?
there's a bit of it that's very natural, that it's a gift that you have.
Yeah.
But training is for when you don't know what to do with that script or that
Mm,
scene,
mm, yeah.
that you're not lost. A lot of people who don't train, if they can't feel it right away, they don't know how to access it in other ways. Through training, I learned how to do that. So I'm
Mm.
never stuck when I have material that doesn't come natural to me.
Wow, wow. And what was your inspiration behind doing acting though? Is there like a more of a story to it?
It's a gift from the creator.
Yeah. Okay.
I,
Wow.
I don't know why I'm compelled to do it. Obviously it's a lot of fun.
Mm.
It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of different people. You have a lot of different experiences. You get to travel a lot, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. But I know why I was compelled to do it? No, I don't. I just know that I am and have been for quite some time.
Yeah, no, of course. And like I said at the start, you've done so many great things within your career. I mean, I mainly know you for The Walking Dead, so if you're still happy to talk about that a few years later, I mean, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The Walking Dead, I
yeah.
got The Walking Dead because Robert Kirkman, the graphic novel creator, he saw my work on The Wire, and that's another iconic show that I was involved in. I played the character Dennis Cuddy Wise, and he saw me on that show and always felt that I was right for Tyrese. He went to AMC and told them that I was Tyrese, and they said, that's fine, but we're going to see other people. And he said, okay, but it's Chad Coleman. And
Mm,
they said,
yeah.
that's fine, but we're going to see other people. And he said, okay, but it's Chad Coleman. And he won,
Yeah. There we are.
and we won.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful role. I love playing Tyrese. He has tremendous humanity and tremendous power and a tremendous conscience. And all those qualities I find appealing, and the complexity of the man was always amazing. And I love being daddy daycare in the
Yeah.
middle of an apocalypse.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, there's a lot of jobs at once going on there. Killing zombies, looking after kids, just in that kind of era, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, did so was Tyrese your original offer, or did you get offered any other characters? Like, did you get to choose
No,
between
that was
actors?
it. That
Okay.
was the character because he was tailor made for TV because Frank Darabont, who created the show, he created a character called Daryl Dixon, which is
Okay.
not in the
Yeah.
graphic novel. That he drew some of his qualities, especially his relationship with Rick, kind of pulled it from the relationship with Tyrese in the graphic novel. So
Mm,
we had to go a different route.
mm,
And in the graphic novel, I had a wife. I had a daughter. I'm sorry. I had a daughter, and I had relations with Michonne and Carol, but none of that happened. And the show. So,
Yeah.
it's totally different Tyrese. What we were dealing with is the dynamic and dichotomy of a man who is fiercely strong, but also sensitive and vulnerable. That was what made that character so compelling.
Mm. Do you think the show should have, stuck with the graphic novel a bit more and followed that story of it, or do you think it did really well as a TV show itself on a whole?
I think it did. I do think it did really well as a TV show, but I
Mm.
also will say to you that that probably would have meant me being extended beyond 3 years,
Okay.
and that wasn't in the plan because contractually some other things would have had to occur
Yeah.
after the third season, and that wasn't in the cards for them. For me, they went with Michonne, which I think they should have. I think in at this time in our lives, and even at that point, to have an African American woman ascend and see her in all her glory and the role she played as Michonne, I think that was far more necessary than Tyrese was.
Mm. Yeah, no, of course.
In the larger scale, on a
Yeah.
selfish level, of course, I would have loved to have continued. I'd love to have gotten to Negan and put that hammer on his,
Yeah, I'm
weapon.
sure. I'm sure. Do you think Tyrese would have made it as far as Negan or further than Negan? Do you think he would have
I would have
had a
liked
longer
them
story?
to explore. Yeah, I would have liked them to explore him changing, right? Hardening even more than he did,
Mm.
uh, to, struggle with. He struggled with it, I know, but really a certain hardening towards different people, like see him deal with him in a way that he didn't deal with the governor,
Mm. Yeah.
but that would have required, believe me, more real estate. But yeah, I would have liked to see people fear Tyrese for a minute and see this like a whole nother level of, you know, diabolicalness coming out of him to deal with Negan. That would have
Mm.
been cool for me,
Mm.
but we couldn't get there.
In more detail, what would you have done to Negan, do you think, as a character?
Well,
What
the
story
same
would
way he smashed their
Yeah,
heads
yeah.
with
To
that
the
bat, I
governor.
would have smashed his head with the hammer
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
lovingly did it. Blood all over my face and everything.
Mm. Did you continue watching The Walking Dead after you left? Did you was it a
Until
show that you
that
always
point,
watched?
until
Okay.
what he did to Abraham
Mm.
and um what's the character's name that Stephen Yen played?
Oh yeah, okay. Glenn, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Bill Glenn and Abraham were smashed to bits that way. It was too much for me. I had to go.
Okay. Too graphic, do you think, for the show
Yeah.
or yeah.
And I understand what he was doing. Scott. Scott is the showrunner. Scott Gimple is a brilliant man.
Mm.
And he was dealing with that level of violence and abject hate. And I get it, but I just think for my taste, it went too far.
Mm. Yeah, no, I'm sure. I mean it really did. I mean I struggled to
But that was
continue
his
because the whole
point. His
yeah.
point was to go to, you know what I'm saying? Because if you ask yourself the level of violence in the world, have people gone that far? Sure, they have. So
Mm.
he was exploring that, and I get it. But just I'm such a person that errs on the side of humanity, and just over the top violence. Just I can stomach it, but so much.
What do you think he was trying to compare them scenes to in reality? Do you think he was trying to compare it to anything, or do you think it was just for the show? Like, anything that's sort of happening. Um,
Well, I think if you look in history, you've seen some pretty diabolical people that have been charismatic, and
mm,
you just leave it at that.
yeah, no, of course. I mean, it sounds like if you was in charge of your role, you would have made like several different choices for your character. I mean, I'm sure you've got some great ideas that you could have had as well.
Yeah, and that's what I was grappling with, though. When they told me that I was leaving the show, I was trying to do the same thing that Melissa McBride did. She was able to come to them with a whole new storyline, and that made absolute sense for her to stay. And she hadn't left. So
Mm,
I was grappling trying to find it, but at that time, I felt like he had done all he could do, and he was just been in repeat mode.
mm,
But after years being removed from it, now I can see uh,
mm,
what I would have been going for.
mm.
but that would have made him not a beloved character, which is fine with me. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? I don't mind wrestling with that kind of complexity, but I would have liked to have seen him be pushed to a different place because of Negan. You know?
mm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it sounds like there could be so many ideas. I mean, I'm sure you could talk them out in so many different ways. To be fair,
Yeah, but they weren't interested.
yeah. I mean, did you put any ideas across before that? Like, was it your
No,
choice to leave,
that's what I'm
or was
saying.
yeah?
No, at that time I didn't because he immediately went into what my final episode was going to be like. And so when he did that, it was so compelling to me. I was ready to start shooting that. And
Mm,
that is a classic episode for
yeah.
sure. I think that would be in the top 10 no matter what.
Mm. I mean, it sounds like you've had a few agreements and disagreements, but did you ever disagree with how the writers handled Tyrese's character arc at all in the show?
I don't remember having a lot of any kind of real conflict with them
Mm,
about what they presented. It was beautifully presented, you know, and I was more or less rolling with the punches, you know. Um, I wish I had spoke up more for more love interest for him. I wish me and Michonne could have, you know, had the relationship that was in the graphic novel and Carol as well. But, you know, they
mm,
presented Karen and, you know, and they shaped it that way. I didn't put up too much of a fight because at the time I was honestly going through a lot of personal stuff myself with the loss of my sister and other situations that I was dealing with. So I was, you know, coming to work, investing in my job, and then going to deal with other things in my life.
yeah, yeah. It's a lot of challenges while filming. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
So I just, you know,
yeah. Besides Michonne, who else do you think Tyrese could have been in a relationship with on the show?
well, I
Besides,
said Carol,
oh yeah, that's
Carol
true.
for
Yeah,
sure,
okay, okay, that's
Carol for sure.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
that would have been amazing. I
Yeah.
think that would have been amazing. But they, you know, they already knew where they were going. You see where how things have unfolded.
Mm,
So, you know, it wasn't in the cards for any of that because that was going to put a chink in what they were ultimately going for.
mm. Yeah, of course. But talking more about the scenes and the character's role of Tyrese, which moment in The Walking Dead would you say really defined your character um, on the screen?
It's already he's a very complex character, so it's got to be two. Him being arrested and emotionally spent inside that car,
Mm,
and then finding that inner strength and coming out with incredible force.
mm.
That's him. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
two sides.
100%. Yeah, yeah, because you got you got the nervous side and you got the confident side as soon as he gets out as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And
Um,
that's what's compelling to play.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the show was quite emotional and challenging to sort of portray as well. I mean, because of some of the episodes, it seems quite difficult to relate to. But like on a personal level, after filming, how did you unwind after difficult scenes? Did you ever need to?
I was not intentional about that back then. I was speaking to someone earlier in the week about that. I
Mm,
should have been far more intentional about it. It
yeah.
was a lot to carry, but I wasn't that intentional. And as I said, you know, things were happening in my personal life. I had a very dear friend kill his wife. I was having a son, and my sister was dying of pancreatic cancer. So I just did not have any decompression time. I
Mm,
mean, there was a point where Denise Hook, an amazing producer on the show, came into my trailer because my sister had passed and I was doing the scene where I was digging a grave with Rick. And she said, Chad, you don't have to do this. Just we'll shoot it another day. And I told her my sister would say, get your blankety blank out there and do your job. So, you know,
mm,
no time for you to get arrested by your emotions.
mm,
So that was one of the situations. So my answer to your question is I wish I had been more intentional about it.
mm,
I needed to have been, but you know, I endeavored to persevere. but it was an incredibly tough time in my life for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of the emotion, like you can see, it looked quite real on TV as well. I mean, it sounds like you were relating to a lot of it. Um,
I was
yeah,
using it. I was
yeah.
certainly using it.
Could a real virus ever make zombies like The Walking Dead, do you think? Could it ever get to that point in this world?
Yeah, anything is possible. I mean, look at COVID, right?
Mm,
So, and there've been other epidemics and pandemics. So, yeah, I think that's a possibility for sure.
mm,
Um, and we just we'll find out where our humanity is, and we'll find out, who we are as a people, whether we're going to take care of each other or continue to destroy one another.
mm.
So, yes,
So,
I do.
so you would say it's possible for a virus to keep, a dead body moving even
That could
without the heart or
turn
lungs?
right. Yeah,
Wow.
some form of it, some
Mm,
form of that. Yeah.
mm. Okay. It's interesting because like a lot of people say, "Oh no, it could never happen," and then some people have quite a lot of great ideas, that it could. So it's interesting to hear your version of it.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's not maybe not spot on, you know,
Mm, mm,
in the way that it is on the show, but yes, something could alter the anatomy and cause a person to become brain dead to some degree, but still be able to function and possibly be in a state of mania.
okay. Even through biting as well. Even through that aspect of it.
If somebody who's in mania who's hungry,
You never know. You never know. You
you
gotta make
never,
it fun.
again, bro, never say never. And,
Mm,
the world is a fascinating place, bro.
mm, mm. Do you think you would survive through a real life apocalypse?
Well, again, with free will, you do what you can. You want
Mm,
to live. Would I make it? Can't say that, but I can tell you that I would do what I had to do to
mm.
try to live.
Mm. Yeah, no, of course. What weapon would you use?
I'll stay with that hammer. The hammer
Okay,
is a
you'd stick with
trusty
it.
deal. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. It's very
Awesome.
uncomplicated, and I got the power. So
Mm.
there you go.
How long do you think would zombies last, like before they rot away completely? Do you reckon?
Well, I think the key to it all would be to drive them in the ocean.
Okay.
You can get them in the ocean. You could, if we put a collective effort together to push across a particular geography and drive them in the ocean. I
Okay.
don't know how long that would take, but that would be my strategy.
You wouldn't go with Eugene's idea then from the show.
No, I no. I believe that you got to try to collectively corral them up and just drive them in the ocean.
Mm, okay. Going back to Tyrese, what's one thing about Tyrese that you think fans misunderstood or didn't fully appreciate for
They
him?
thought he was soft. That people thought he was soft,
Mm,
and that because they knew the graphic novel and they were just really disappointed in the death. And I just think they missed the level of complexity of the man,
mm,
and everything that they said sometimes felt like he didn't have. He displayed all of that,
mm,
and I think he was one of the most courageous, heroic characters there, who was more like a real person rather than a superhero.
mm. Yeah, okay. Because I did actually
And I
see,
find
yeah, I mean, I did actually see a lot online about saying that he's just a caring dude and he's just a normal human being, not like the rest. No aggression in him. So a lot of people did
But
say he was
that's not
quite
true at
soft.
all.
Yeah,
That's not
yeah.
true at all. That's not. That's what I'm saying. That I think then most of those came from the graphic novel world, where he
Mm,
was more two dimensional.
mm, yeah, no, definitely. Wow, what was your favorite episode to be involved with? What was your favorite scene?
My death episode,
Okay, okay.
the
Why is
episode
that?
where because everyone had to pitch in to try to save my life, and they reflected the level of humanity in them and the amount of appreciation and care that they had for me.
Mm, yeah, okay.
So that
Yeah.
so when a person is of service to others, what do you want most when you're at your most need? You want to see other people motivate, activate, and come to your defense. And they tried everything they could to save. So,
Mm. Chad, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
all right, my brother. Talk
No
to you
worries.
soon, and we'll do it again when I do something else.